Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's maybe a little bit of a rainy Wednesday morning, but we're really glad to have everybody here with us, joining us for this small business seminar brought up to you by the Paducah Chamber. I'm Sandra Wilson, president of the Paducah Chamber. So this month, we've been having all of our small business seminars on Wednesday mornings to help business owners and entrepreneurs, because we know business owners and entrepreneurs create opportunities for themselves, for their employees, and for our community. And passion and plan can go very far, but how far can that go? Sometimes businesses hit bumps in the road, and at one point or another, what you can do to overcome all of those. We have originally had planned a panel today with Tammy Zimmerman and Chad Beyer. Unfortunately, Chad is unable to be with us today, so we will be introducing Tammy Zimmerman in just a few minutes to talk about some of her personal stories about how she's overcome some of those challenges and some of the things along her journey. We've had a great lineup each Wednesday of different topics to help our small business owners. We are recording these and posting them on our website, paducahchamber.org, under small business. You can go there, or under seminars to find the past three, and then this one after today. This is being recorded, so we can post that there, and it'll also be on our Facebook page for the Paducah Chamber. And we appreciate the partnership that we have with WPSD, who's also live streaming this and has it on their Facebook page. If you have questions during the webinar and you aren't with us on Zoom, you can just email those to me at swilson@paducahchamber.org, and I'll try to get those addressed. If you're on with us on Zoom, you can enter those in the chat box. So I'd like to introduce now our seminar sponsors. We could not do the types of programming that we do if we didn't have sponsors who've been willing to stay with us as we pivoted from live events into all of these types of new technology with Zoom calls and everything else that we've been doing to continue to bring services to our members and to the community. FNB Bank and Lundberg Medical Imaging are two members that we are very proud of, appreciate the support we've had. They've been our seminar sponsors for the last couple of years while we've been having these. So now here's a message from Ike Nichols, the market president with FNB Bank, and then you'll hear from Terry Lundberg, CEO of Lundberg Medical Imaging. I'm not getting any sound. No sound on your sponsors, so we have to replay those in a few minutes. I think we had some technology problems there with the sound, so we're going to replay those videos in just a few minutes. But we do want to go ahead and get to our program as we can. Today's speaker really is someone who needs no introduction. She grew up here, she moved away for a while, and then returned to her hometown of Paducah to start her own business. To be successful in this ever-changing global economy in which all businesses compete, business leaders must be quick to identify opportunities, willing to take the risk, and equipped to implement change at just a moment's notice. So to me, meet the perfect description of Tammy Zimmerman. She and I will always have a special bond as she was chairman of the Paducah Chamber Board in 2017 when we were a finalist for Chamber of the Year. And that included a two-person interview team representing the chamber to go before this panel of panel of judges and plead our case. And we did that, and I'm happy to say that we won. We represented us well, and so we were named the National Chamber of the Year in 2017 when we were, Tammy was there. So we appreciate the time that she put in that. That was a special bond for us. She's a leader and entrepreneur. She was on a 9-person team to found one of the nation's most innovative banking and credit card processing firms, Nova Information Systems, now known as Elavon. After taking Nova public on the New York Stock Exchange, Tammy returned to her hometown of Paducah, where she had grown up, and started Payment Plus, where she was president and CEO. She sold Payment Plus in 2019, but remains an equity owner, acting as CEO of the Payment Plus division and regional director of what is now PayRock's Mid-Atlantic territory. And PayRock is a full-service processor and the 11th largest acquirer, with over 700 employees, 30 offices across the globe, and 23+ billion in processing volume. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy, and let me say, you know what it's like to start a business from scratch based on an idea. You've worked with those people and you took it into full implementation. You've been both in the corporate world and an entrepreneur. So at this point, why don't you share with us your journey? And then after you've talked, we'll come back with some questions and answers. And then we want to wrap up again with thanking our sponsors, Lundberg Medical Imaging and FNB Bank. Tammy, take it away.
Good deal. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. We can. We got you. Yes.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, hello, Chamber, and thank you so much, Sandra. We do have a special bond. I am so grateful for that Chamber experience, and you were the best partner to have, just the best partner to have. Very sorry that Chad's not joining me today, but we will be hearing from him sometime in the future, but sorry to miss him. But just glad to be here. This is a great series. This is just proof of how businesses reinvent themselves and keep going and keep changing, even with challenges ahead of us in this COVID world. So this is just a great series to be a part of. Thank you for having me. In preparation for this call, I took some time to think about what it meant to get out of my own way to be successful in business. And I landed on the idea of walking with a purpose. Walking with one foot firmly in the other towards a destination, just walking with a purpose. We've all seen people do that. And you look at them and you can tell they're walking with a purpose. But I think that means not tripping, not stumbling, not falling. Yesterday I was driving home, and down Buckner Lane, there was a person walking and texting, so it's not walking in front of a car to get hit, but not stumbling along our way. And I actually have a story of a very literal sense of not tripping that kind of shows this story. But this was many years ago in Atlanta. I was headed to work for a big day because we had a corporate board meeting. And when we had corporate board meetings, we had our crew from New York come in and our corporate attorneys come in. I was participating in the meeting, so I arrived a little bit early, parked in the parking garage, and I arrived to the 6th floor where our office was. And what I didn't notice that when I stopped on the 6th floor was that the elevator, instead of stopping flush with the floor, stopped a little bit below the floor. So when I stepped off the elevator, my toe caught, and I was standing up, and then I was flat on my face very quickly. The awkward part of this is my office was to the left, and our reception area, the wall into our reception area and whatever, was all glass. So all those people that I'm talking about were in the reception room. They saw this. So I got up, I walked in, and I can still hear Penny, the receptionist. She could not stop laughing. So once I made it past all the jokes, the jeers, the laughing, I went into the board meeting, had a good meeting. I executed on what I needed to do. I was successful and completed. But that's an example in business. I was walking with a purpose, but you know, things come at you from wherever that you don't even see that can cause you to stumble sometimes. So what I'm going to share with you, I've got some points. As Sandra said, my career has been in the payment technology space. I worked for a corporate company. I helped start a corporate company with a group of people that we took public. And then I started my own small company. And when I grew to a size, and quite frankly, I had an opportunity where I needed to grow more. I ended up selling to PayRock and became part of actually I sold to PayRock and became part of PayRock, where I am now, and continuing to grow and part of an international company that we're putting together. But I share with you that because these 6 points are really just ideas that I have used and learned along the way to get out of my own way to be successful. And the first one is very basic, but it's be planned and prepared. And it's almost, you don't need to say this, but you do need to say this, is create a business plan. If you have investors, you're going to have to do this. But if you're investing into yourself, you still need a business plan, and it needs to be written down. I cannot tell you how many people do not do this. But also be very clear in what you're doing and to think big. Number 2, I did a talk a couple of years ago titled Drive Your Red Truck Well. And the central theme in that talk was service your clients. My dad was behind that. He was a mechanic. But take care of your clients. Take care of your customers. Quite frankly, treat people well. If you're not a person in business that has face-to-face contact with customers, then add value to your company. Number 3 is to have support behind you. Have a mentor or mentors. Today you can pay a coach and have family members on board with you. I can tell you my husband is my biggest fan and helps me so much. Number 4, we've all heard the term, it's lonely at the top, and I think that is true. So be comfortable in your own skin. Be prepared to be alone with you do not have time to talk about all your decisions with people. It expends too much energy. So much like golf, no one's going to swing that club for you. You have to swing it, and you have to be confident in what you're swinging. Number 5, take care of your health. If you are not well, you cannot execute. You will not finish your goal. So exercise, eat well. It's kind of basic, but take care of your health. Number 6 is motivation, because along this journey, and it can be a very long journey. My path has been a very long one. You need motivation to keep you going. My first one and my cornerstone for me, just personally, is prayer. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Proverbs 19:21. For someone else, it might be meditation or whatever. For me, it's prayer, and it's gotten to me where I am today. I'm grateful for that. Read books, continue to learn. Industry associations can give you motivation, and join a chamber. You're surrounded by like-minded business people, and get people to join a chamber that help. And then number 7, I titled this Block and Tackle, because as I said, the journey can be long. The last opportunity that I executed on was the one that is the reason I became part of PayRock. It took 4.5 years from the time I started that idea to get that opportunity closed. So it takes a long time. So block and tackle is something that you need. And that is, you need to be persistent. You need to make sure that you can go through those waters and get to the other side. Be creative, fuel those creative juices, have fun, look for ways to have fun. And I bolded these two items because I think they're the most important, is be disciplined and focused. In today's world with so much coming at us, if you are not disciplined and focused, you're going to be like my dog that chases squirrels. That dog expends a lot of energy, but she hardly ever does catch a squirrel. I think she caught one. So I think discipline and focus with everything that we have going on is vitally important. Sandra mentioned in her introduction, identifying opportunities, taking risk, and implementing change. These are definite to-dos and necessary. If you don't take a risk and do these things, you will not accomplish your goals. So these are some of my real life examples that I have used along my journey. I've used every one of those. I still use them today. I still have some goals. So those are just some things that I've done. The list, we could probably talk all day on this of what that list is, but I think at this point we'll open it up to questions that you all might have where I can maybe add to it.
Well, I'm going to go back to a story that, well, first of all, I want to say, okay, I've never heard you tell that story about falling out of the elevator before. That was a first. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I tell you, I got stuck in the same elevator a week later. The elevator really had problems. I got stuck in the elevator. They had to pull me out of the elevator. The elevator was a real issue, but it's a true life story, and one that is like in business. Some days you come to work and you don't know what's going to hit you.
And you never forget those experiences. You know, I was
not when you're humiliated.
No, I know. I remember literally falling down a stage one time. I was leaving after having given what I thought was, you know, a pretty good speech. And I turned to go down and my heel got stuck and my shoe came off and I tumbled down. I never actually fell all the way down, but I did, you know, tumble down. And you still
pirouetted.
Well, another story that you've told before is that one day you just went home and told your husband, Mike, who you said was your biggest fan, that you just said, I'm finished. I'm done. I'm over with starting this business. I've never worked so hard in my life to not be making any money, I think was maybe kind of the phrase that you said. And I'm assuming that, I know Mike must have said something that really changed your mind. So what are your words of advice for others who may encounter that same type of feeling and experience about, I just can't do this anymore?
Well, and I think it's a good thing to bring up, Sandra, because anybody along the journey probably will face that. So I think to expect that, kind of expect it to come at you, that you get to the point where you're just like, and for me to say I'm going to quit, that's not something I do very easily. But I was really ready to quit. And Mike, quite frankly, he just told me, he said, you keep your head down, you keep working and don't quit. And so I was kind of like, oh, okay, I'll just keep doing that. And, you know, and I did, I just kept my head down and kept working. You kind of have to work through it. But if you're starting something, even after you've built something, some of those challenges hit you like falling off of an elevator that are hard, that make you want to quit. But I think that if you have a really clear vision and a clear goal of where you're headed, it helps you to keep going and helps you to keep your head down and keep working. I can't hear you. Yeah.
There you go.
There
How
you
do
go.
you reconcile your vision for your business with the reality of the service if it falls short? Because you, I know, have a vision to have a very customer friendly serving business, but what happens if something falls short?
Well, if something falls short, and it probably will here or there, you look for tools you look for, it could be another product, it could be another tool, another way, another solution that you can provide to your customer, where you are a consultative to fill that gap. I mean, in today's world with so many moving pieces, service is a hard thing to accomplish fluidly. I mean, because there's so many pieces that can fall short. So I think it's up to you to understand what those pieces are. If you understand your client, you then can go and fill those holes with something else. And that's where you can add value to that customer, of being creative and going out and finding other solutions. And it will happen.
Yeah. Well, how long did it take you to start, if you don't mind answering this or answering it some way, making some kind of a profit where you felt comfortable paying yourself?
On Payment Plus, it was probably, and that was part of the dilemma of just not, you have to make sure that you have enough capital and have that built into your plan that you can get to the point of paying yourself. It was probably 3 years.
Wow.
But I had you either have to have capital, you have to have an investor. In that world, I had a husband that was working that allowed me to grow and do that. But it was probably 2.5, 3 years. And then when I paid myself, it wasn't that much. It wasn't that much. Now, there's different ways that you can go about doing things and how you structure your company and structure yourself. I grew organically, and I grew internally, and I grew conservatively. So you can do different things. When I started Nova, I took a pay cut, but we had investors in that world. We had investors that were paying, but I did take a pretty significant pay cut, which was a risk that paid off somewhere down the road.
So do you often wonder, what if I'd just done something else?
You know what? That's a great question. No, because actually I got into this because I was going to do something else.
That's true. I've heard that story from you.
So I think that people always ask me how I got into this, because it's kind of an odd business, and I really give God the credit for directing my steps of ending up in this, because I was going down a different path that was not as good for my brain and the way I think and whatever. And so this technology business and such was right for me. So no, I really don't think about that, because I tried that and it didn't work. I guess I tried it and it didn't work.
And this has been your main career, this type of business, all of your life, hasn't it? From the technology and the bank processing and.
Right. I worked out of school. I was a finance degree out of school. I worked at a bank and then got into payment technology processing right from there. So, and the banking really fits into our model and what we do even still today. So it's really been what I've always done.
So how soon did you look for a mentor when you started payment, when you came home and started your own company?
I have been fortunate, I guess, all along the way. When you say mentors, all these little pictures pop up in my mind of all these mentors along the way. I think with Payment Plus, I had mentors from my past, that I text one yesterday, that I kept. And when I arrived in Atlanta, I had mentors that propelled me in that scenario. I don't really keep in touch with them. So I had mentors when I started.
Mhm.
I had mentors when I started. I don't, I'm very grateful for that. And they evolved with me from working situations where we shared like-mindedness, we shared challenges. We always didn't get along, agree on everything, but we shared a lot of common values, I think. So.
Has there been a time when you felt like maybe you stumped your business, the growth of it, and what did you do to overcome that obstacle?
Um, my business, I think that as I look, was one of consistent growth. I didn't have, because I had a plan every year, I knew what I wanted to do. I was kind of in control of that revenue growth. Um, we, there were things that stumped it. I mean, I lived through 2007 and 8 in that recession.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that was that was the first year that I did not grow. Every other year I grew, but that year I didn't. And so that was one of those events that are outside of your control. For me, I was fortunate because I had built my business kind of on a conservative base. I didn't go bankrupt. There were fellow colleagues of mine that lost their business during that time, just didn't make it. We ended up staying flat, and I guess in that year, I guess that could be considered, it's hard for me to call it a success, but a success. So I don't know if that was something that I really did to make us stumble, but it sure, we didn't grow. But at least we didn't go under. At
Right.
least we didn't go under.
What about you mentioned the business plan and how you've mentioned that several times, how important that is. What are some resources or tips for completing a successful business plan?
Yes. I have a book. I have given that book to several people. I don't have it. I don't have it right here with me. I have shared that with people. But that is what I would do. I would get a book. There's now you can get online to get resources to do that. So I would get an outline, and then I would get an example of possibly a good business plan to follow. And then start putting it together. And so, but it's amazing to me how many people don't do that. I mean, I've told people to do that, and then I'll ask them, "Did you write your?" No, I didn't do it, or I started it, or because it's not fun. It's not a fun thing to do, to think about your competition and a lot of what ifs and things like that aren't day to day. It's kind of mundane. It's mundane, but it's very important. So I would get a book, and I'll find that book and share it with you. But I think it's How to Write a Business Plan.
Okay, I was going to say, I mean, I'm sure you could just
Yeah.
look up. I will give a plug to our McCracken County Library, who has great resources for
Yes.
starting a business. They even have computers that people can take out on loan if they want to do that. So
Right.
you used a book and an outline on how to start a
Hmm.
business plan.
Yes. 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 Yes.
What are some of the top mistakes you see that entrepreneurs make?
Um, Not planning. Stopping, just like I almost did. I mean, stopping, not having enough. You have to have the business set up. You have to have the money set up. You have to have. I mean, business is not hard, but it's complicated because it's just revenue and expenses. So you need to make sure you have your capital. I can remember one lady that had a business and she didn't make it. And then she told me how much she spent on her advertising. And, it just didn't add up. So I think you need to make sure you understand math and the mechanics of what that means so that you can make it. And then to continue it. Because there's going to be times that you have flutters in your stomach, you have a pit in your stomach, you kind of learn to live with that pit in your stomach. I mean, it's a feeling. What you don't want to do is you don't want to stop. And because we're dealing with business, you're dealing with money. So you want to make sure that your math adds up. Makes sense?
Yes. When you talk about that, so how important is a relationship with a bank?
Very important. They're like your partner. They're your partner, and they will.
Would that be something you would encourage someone to make sure that they have a good relationship, a very solid relationship with someone at a bank that is their advocate there?
Yes. And that person, if they're good, and there's many good ones here, becomes a consultant, becomes a mentor, becomes part of that arsenal that you have. They have many resources, especially right now in COVID. Those banks helping everybody maneuver through this. So your banker is a very, very important person.
Are there other resources, CPA, attorney, any of those kind of things that worked closely with you?
Yes. We had the CPAs, the taxes. That's the part where you're understanding the math of it, and and you can't know everything. I can't know everything, but you can know people that know things. So, but you can know, and attorneys, CPAs, your CPA is going to be very valuable to you. The chamber has many resources and organizations that also help entrepreneurs, with different resources. I think in Murray, the group that they have there that can help with entrepreneurs, but I use all of those resources.
Great, thank you. We do have there is a new resource guide out in our community that the Chamber, Paducah Economic Development, and the city put together that has a lot of steps to take and a lot of resources in it for if there's someone listening today that's going to try to start their own business. That's a great way to find out who to talk to. There is the Murray State Center for Economic and Entrepreneurial Development, and we have their number as well if people need that, and they do help with developing business plans. I want to say that,
Sandra,
yes.
I would say one thing just on kind of bringing that full circle is, as you're starting your company and as you're planning, one of the things that it's kind of hard to think about, but even if you think about it in the beginning, is thinking about your strategy, thinking about where you're headed and how you're going. M&A activities and investors and different things like that are important to you as you build that company. So it's not something I think that you do in the ninth inning that you start thinking about those sorts of things. Those are things that you need to think about kind of in the second or third inning of when you're growing and planning your business. And it's a complicated world at this point.
Can you talk about the capital and investment ideas for people who are wanting to start it? That's one thing that we hear is they don't have access to capital. Mm-hmm. Do you have some advice for that?
And that comes down to, that's a whole M&A strategy and with investors and finding out who the investors are, then in the investor category, which investors invest in your industry. That's going to be different for someone listening than it is with mine. And then you have to then figure out what's your value. What they're going to look at is they're going to look at numbers. They're going to look at the math. They're going to look at the numbers. And so that is why it's vitally important to people to have good numbers, to have good kind of stuff to show somebody, because that's what they're going to look about. They're not going to want to talk to you. I mean, they might want to talk to you, but the numbers are going to be very important, and they're going to be data driven. And so as you're planning a business, it's very important that you have that as your foundation, if that is something that you're looking for to grow, which, if you need capital, that's a resource that you need to go to get there, is other investors. So create a list, find out who in your industry, but you're going to need very, very solid numbers in order to show them. And that's kind of the way their mentality is.
So really, I just hear, I mean, you have to plan, you have to be your own salesperson, and you just can't give up.
Yep.
You just have to keep going. I do want to say that another resource that we use some is the Small Business Administration. So, this is Small Business a Week. If you go to their website, the SBA, you're going to see all kinds of resources for small businesses, as well as the U.S. Chamber website also has a lot of that on there. And we have someone that said in the chat box that the state of Kentucky has many resources for just starting a business as well. I want to share with you that this is from Daniel Jones. It's in the chat that Tammy's been a great leader and mentor to him, and he is extremely grateful for your leadership. So to that. There is one question in here about diversity and inclusion. We hadn't really prepared for that or talked about that. If that's anything that you would want to talk about as a community leader or a business owner. You've been in Atlanta, you've been in Paducah, I think you were in Louisville, you've been in a lot of different places throughout the country. I think you moved to Colorado for a while.
Colorado, Minnesota.
Yeah.
So yes, I have been in a lot of places, and it is very important. I have been I guess, had the opportunity to work for companies where I was shouldered by diversity. It just so happened in the companies, and maybe it was because, in Atlanta, we were an entrepreneurial company, and the team that we put together, you're stronger together. And we had, even back then, women, color, just a strong diversity of people that came together to form this company, to make it work. And I think you get more with that. And I think that we as business leaders and business owners that do that need to keep that in mind, to reach out to reach out to others. I happen to have been fortunate to work in that. And the company that I'm with now, Payrock, we have a diversity and board, and we have a committee, and we have a that is, we're making it strategically important at our company. So I've been fortunate to have had that kind of, in my past career. I'm not sure if it's just because of the people I was around, but I do know that I've benefited from it, and I hope that I can help others benefit from it. It's important.
You talked about prayer and the importance of that. How else do you keep yourself motivated?
Music. I mean, you have to have fun. You have to have good people in your life. You have to, if you're creating a business plan, make sure it's one that you want to do. Make sure that you like what you're doing. Just don't, you can't fake fun. You can't fake liking something. You can't fake loving something. I love the business I'm in. I absolutely love it. So I think you have to love what you're doing. You have to like it. You have to enjoy it. And that, even in this COVID world of us kind of reinventing ourselves, the way we're doing business, you have to enjoy it. So I would say with people, and with a passion for what I'm doing, would keep you motivated. So make sure you're on the right track. Just don't do something to be doing it because you think you should, or because you won't have enough in your gas tank to make it all the way through.
So I know you read a lot. Is there is there something you're reading right now?
Yep.
Is it for fun?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's actually on it's called America's Daughter. It's Teddy Roosevelt's daughter, Alice. Alice. It's about her. So it's kind of interesting. So it's not a business book. Actually, I take that back. At lunch, every day I read Elon Musk's book. I read it when I'm about 3/4 of the way through. And it is pretty fascinating on Tesla and the SpaceX. He was involved in PayPal. So a lot of the things that we are talking about today are in that book. I would highly recommend it.
And that's with Elon.
Elon, yeah. It's his story. It's his story. Very interesting.
So on our first seminar with Daniel Jones and Jessica Newman and Shalorn Jeter, the book came up by John Maxwell, Failing Forward. I don't know if that's one you're familiar with, or one that you have read, an author that you're familiar with him. But we immediately pivoted that day to have our Leadership Paducah class, which was starting the next day, read that book. So we're in the process of reading that book now. Is there a book that you feel like everybody that's going to start a business or that's going to try to keep themselves going should read, or a particular author that you have?
I read a lot of John Maxwell's books, and I have not read that one, so it will now be next on my list. The title's very catchy, kind of like falling off of an elevator. So I will read that one. So all of his books are very good. I actually have one on. I'm a Tony Dungy fan. He's not a business leader, but he has some practices and different things. He was a great coach. And so I read Wooden. I'm a sports person. So a lot of things that I read are sports driven. But actually it's a Fellowship of Christian Athlete book that I go to on excellence, and Tony Dungy's chapter in there. I read that kind of here and there because it's very practical. But the title of the book is titled Excellence. But I read a lot of Wooden and sports type of minded people, and John Maxwell.
So I know it's hard when you think that you're starting your own business and you're working so hard to keep it going. How in the world are you going to find time to just read a book? How did you carve that into your life? Making it a priority? Yeah. Just a priority.
Used to, I travel, and actually in this world, I'd started traveling a lot again. So I was on airplanes a lot. Now with COVID, it's not happening, but I was on airplanes a lot. But I carve it into, you plan it. You plan it in. The Elon Musk, I literally read it at lunchtime, and I only might read 4 pages, but it's kind of, if I'm there eating lunch by myself, that's what I read. So it becomes, these people are your mentors, kind of. You learn from them. So you just make it a part of your daily day. Build it in.
So is the book Elon Musk by Ashley Vance? Does that sound right?
You know what? It's at, I will get you that title. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember. And I'm not at my work office right now. It's on that desk there. I'll get that for you.
Okay.
American Express gave it to me free. And so they were giving away all these books, and I was like, okay. And this one's a really, really great one. So a plug for American Express there.
Well, I loved your analogy earlier about golf, because I remember when we did our closing statement to sell us for the chamber, we used a golf analogy. Do you remember what it was?
No.
And I
What
don't
did we
play golf,
use?
Tammy. Yeah, you play golf. It was about we wanted to be able to wear that green jacket.
Oh, yes, I remember that now. Yes, we wanted to wear the green jacket. Yeah,
We referred
yeah,
to the master, so we use that as an analogy. And I
yeah.
love that you use that today about it's kind of lonely at the top. You have to be comfortable in your own skin, and of course, golf is your own game that you're playing. And you have to take ownership of it. If you hit a bad shot, no one else hit that shot but you.
Yeah. Well, and the word I used was you have to be confident in your swing. And that confidence, sometimes, you might be shaky, whatever, but you still have to be confident in that decision. And those are things as a business owner, I promise you will feel. And you just do not have enough energy and time to talk to people about things. You will fail if you do that. And so you have to learn to be confident in that. Just like you have to learn in golf to hit it by yourself. And if you hit a bad shot here or there, you have to come back to the fairway and try to get it in the fairway and pull those emotions together, calm down, and make it happen. So,
Yeah, and I know that's one
yeah.
of your fun times for you is playing golf.
Yep. 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 Still working at it. Still working at it.
Well, I'm going to wrap up here with, is there any additional advice, one piece of advice you want to give others who are thinking about starting their own business, or those that even are working for someone else but trying to move forward in their career? Is there something that you would want to share as a closing thought?
Yeah, I would just say, for both sets of people, for people that are wanting to start their business, people that are that are in their business, and people that just have goals themselves that are working for somebody, is to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and continue to perfect yourself. None of us are perfect. None of us have it all figured out. None of us know exactly if they're going to fall off the elevator or not. And there's going to be times that you just get laughed at, and it happens. But you can do it. I think so many people just don't believe they can. And you'll get stuck in that fear. And so in anybody in that category, that's the word I would believe to ask you to remember, is to believe in yourself. For me, prayer helps me do that. And so for you that are through that journey, to keep it up. And in our COVID world, we're all in a new world. It's different feelings today than we had last year. So don't give up and continue to believe in yourself.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. You've been an inspiration to many, many people. I know you've been a mentor just listening, and there's someone that said, thank you for being excellent, Tammy. So we appreciate that today. Put your green jacket on today. You've done really well. Congratulations to you on starting your own company, Payment Plus, doing so well, and then selling that and continuing to be a community leader in our area for that. So thank you.
Well, thank you to the chamber for the chamber that we have, because it has it helps our community and it's helped me. So thank you to the chamber.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks again to our seminar sponsors, FNB Bank and Lundberg Medical Imaging. We're going to replay their videos just here in a second. But I want to say that next Wednesday, September 30th at 8 a.m. is our next seminar. And this one is about those PPP loans that we've talked about, how important it is that you had that relationship with the banks during COVID-19. We're going to be talking about taking the PPP loan to the grant, those next steps to make that happen. And we have Lori Noel of FNB Bank, Ashley Grooms of Williams, Williams & Lentz, and Mark Heckenberg with Kemper CPA. So it will be a panel. They will be talking about things from the CPA and the bank position from there and how to better understand that, taking that forward. So you can sign up at PaducahChamber.org for that seminar next week. All of these, again, are recorded and are on our website, PaducahChamber.org. So we missed Chad Byer today, but we'll bring him back in sometime in October or November for another seminar with us. We have had a lot of other people that have reached out to us that are willing to do these kind of seminars, and we really want to continue that relationship. And another program that we're considering is the mentorship. You talked about that, Tammy, and how important that is. Having that, setting up that mentor program. We haven't done that in a while, so we want to try to help that. We've got to find those mentors and find the business owners that are wanting to build that relationship. So thank you again, Tammy, for joining us. Thanks everyone for joining us. And here's a message from our sponsors now.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining the Paducah Chamber Small Business Seminar Series. My name is Ike Nichols with FNB Bank. FNB is a proud sponsor of this year's series. We know that 2020 has been somewhat of a challenging year for a lot of small businesses, so our hope is that some of the information we gain from this series will be useful for you going forward. Again, on behalf of FNB, thank you for taking time out of your day to join this meeting, and have a good day.
Good morning. I'm Terry Lundberg, CEO of Lundberg Medical Imaging. And if you're a small business owner, you already know that CEO stands for Chief Everything Officer. Lundberg Medical Imaging is a radiology testing center serving patients in a 100-mile radius. And as the leader of that company, I can honestly say that joining our chamber has been one of the best decisions I've made. It's the education like the seminar you're going to watch in a few minutes, the business advocacy, and those valuable community connections that has really helped lighten my load and made my business more profitable. When our chamber starts holding our Power and Partnership meetings in the mornings again, please ask me to sit at your table. Our chamber is here to be your guiding light to help facilitate those important connections and help your business thrive and grow. Lundberg Medical Imaging is super honored to sponsor today's seminar. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We hope to see you again next Wednesday for our final seminar in this series. And again, that's about taking the PPP from a loan to a grant. So we'll see you soon. Have a great week. Thank you very much.